Most men will spend their entire lives being managed, manipulated, and quietly discarded, and they will never understand why. They will work hard, they will be loyal, they will follow every rule they were taught, and still find themselves powerless, overlooked, and replaceable. Not because the world is unfair, but because they never learned how the world actually works. There is a hidden architecture beneath every power structure, every relationship, every negotiation, every room you have ever walked into. And the men at the top, the ones who move in silence, who never beg, who never panic, who always seem to land on their feet no matter what, they are not lucky. They are not special. They are operating from a completely different rule book. A rule book that was never handed to you. A rule book that Machiavelli wrote 5 centuries ago and the world's most powerful men still read in private. Today, that changes for you. We are breaking down the 7 brutal rules that kings never break and exposing the exact price that weak men pay for ignoring every single one. This is not motivation. This is your awakening. Welcome to Machiavellian Mind. Rule number 1, never reveal your full hand. The most dangerous thing you will ever do is let people see exactly who you are, what you want, and how far you are willing to go to get it. Read that again, because most men are walking through life completely exposed, transparent, predictable, readable. And they wonder why they keep getting outmaneuvered, overlooked, and played. They confess their plans at the dinner table. They announce their ambitions on social media before the foundation is even laid. They explain their next move to people who are quietly calculating how to use that information against them. And every single time they open their mouth unnecessarily, they are handing their enemies a map to their most vulnerable territory. Machiavelli understood this at a level that made kings fear him. He wrote that men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that the one who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. In other words, the world is not waiting to celebrate your transparency. It is waiting to exploit it. Mystery is not arrogance. Silence is not coldness. They are armor. They are strategy. The man who reveals everything commands nothing. But the man who guards his intentions, who moves without announcing, who builds without broadcasting, that man becomes something the world cannot prepare for, cannot predict, and cannot stop. There is a reason the most powerful figures in history were also the most difficult to read. Caesar, Machiavelli himself. They understood that information is currency and oversharing is bankruptcy. Every detail you volunteer about your plans, your fears, your timelines, your doubts is a withdrawal from your power account that you may never recover. So, starting today, you close the curtain. You stop performing your process for an audience that is not invested in your outcome. You let your results speak long after your silence has made the room uncomfortable, because the man who cannot be predicted cannot be defeated. Guard your vision like a king guards his throne, with absolute, uncompromising discipline. Rule number 2, never let emotion drive your decisions. Listen carefully, because this rule has destroyed more powerful men than poverty ever could. Emotion is the enemy of empire, not because feeling is weakness, but because uncontrolled feeling is an open door, and your enemies know exactly how to walk through it. The moment you react out of anger, you've already lost. The moment you make a decision from desperation, from fear, from the burning need to prove yourself, you've handed control to the very circumstances you were supposed to dominate. Machiavelli was ruthlessly clear on this. The prince who is moved by passion is moved by others, because whoever controls your emotional state controls your actions, and whoever controls your actions controls your fate. Think about the men you've watched self-destruct. It was never a lack of talent that broke them. It was a text sent in rage, a deal signed in desperation, a bridge burned in a moment of wounded pride. Emotion without discipline is gasoline with no engine. It doesn't drive you forward, it just burns everything around you. The cold truth is this: kings feel everything and show nothing. That is not emptiness, that is mastery. Stoicism is not about becoming a machine. It is about becoming the one man in the room whose mind stays razor sharp when everyone else's mind is on fire. While weak men are busy reacting, the king is already 3 moves ahead. watching the chaos he didn't create but absolutely anticipated. Dark psychology teaches us that the most dangerous man in any room is not the loudest. It is the stillest. The one whose eyes are calm while the storm rages. The one who processes pain privately and presents power publicly. That gap between what you feel and what you show is where your leverage lives. So the next time life hits you, and it will hit you, pause before you move, breathe before you speak, calculate before you act, because impulsive men make permanent decisions in temporary moments, and they spend years paying for a single second of weakness. Drop Iron Mind in the comments right now if this is hitting different. Let me know you're built for this level. Rule number 3. Never trust completely, not even those closest to you. This is the rule that will make you uncomfortable. This is the one that will challenge everything you were taught about loyalty, about friendship, about the people you have built your life around. And I am going to say it anyway, because the truth does not care about your comfort, and neither does power. No man is completely trustworthy. Not your closest friend, not your longest partner, not the person who has stood beside you through every storm. Not because people are evil, but because people are human. And human beings are driven by self-interest in ways they themselves do not fully understand. The moment your presence no longer serves their needs, the moment your success begins to threaten their comfort, the moment the weight of loyalty becomes heavier than the reward of betrayal, people change. Not all of them, not always, but enough of them, enough of the time, to make blind trust one of the most expensive mistakes a powerful man can make. Machiavelli wrote it plainly and without apology. Men will always betray you for profit, for fear, or for ambition, and the prince who builds his foundation on the loyalty of others builds on sand. This is not paranoia. This is not cynicism. This is pattern recognition at the highest level. Every man who has ever been betrayed by someone close to him ignored the signs because he confused emotional attachment with verified trustworthiness. He trusted the feeling of loyalty rather than the evidence of it. And that distinction between feeling trusted and being trustworthy is a canyon that has swallowed entire kingdoms. The dark psychology principle here is devastatingly simple. People do not betray you because they are monsters. They betray you because the conditions became right for betrayal. And if you never audit those conditions, if you never maintain a level of strategic distance even with those you love, you are not being loyal, you are being naive. A king loves deeply but observes constantly. He gives warmth with one hand and keeps his eyes wide open with both. He never confuses proximity with allegiance. He never mistakes someone's presence for their permanence. This does not mean you close your heart. It means you protect your empire while you open it. It means you watch behavior over time rather than accepting words in a moment. It means you understand that trust is not given. It is earned, verified, and continuously re-evaluated. The men who built untouchable legacies were not cold. They were careful. And there is a profound, liberating difference between the two. Guard your inner circle like classified intelligence, because in the wrong hands, everything you have built can be dismantled from the inside. Rule number 4. Never appear weak, even when you are breaking inside. There will be moments in your life, and if you are honest with yourself, you have already lived some of them, where everything is falling apart simultaneously. The money is gone, the relationship is fractured, the vision feels impossible, the people you counted on have disappeared, and the weight of it all sits on your chest like stone at 3 in the morning when the world is asleep and you are completely alone with the reality of how far you still have to go. I am not here to tell you that those moments do not exist. They do. Every king has lived inside them. But here is the brutal, non-negotiable rule that separates the men who survive those moments from the men who are consumed by them. You do not let the world see you bleed. Machiavelli understood that perception is not just important. Perception is everything. He wrote that men judge almost entirely by appearances, and the prince who projects weakness invites attack from every direction simultaneously. This is not about ego. This is not about toxic masculinity or suppressing your humanity. This is about understanding the cold, mechanical reality of how human beings respond to vulnerability displayed in the wrong arena, to the wrong audience, at the wrong time. When you project weakness, you do not earn sympathy from the powerful. You earn their predatory instinct. You signal to competitors that you can be moved. You signal to allies that you may not be worth backing. You signal to enemies that now, right now, is the perfect time to strike. The Stoic kings of history did not perform invincibility because they were invincible. They performed it because the alternative was destruction. Marcus Aurelius lost children, faced betrayal, fought wars on multiple fronts simultaneously, and still stood before his empire with the posture of a man who had never been touched. That composure was not dishonesty. It was discipline weaponized as armor. Dark psychology confirms what Machiavelli observed centuries ago. Strength displayed consistently becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you carry yourself like a man who cannot be broken, the world begins to treat you like a man who cannot be broken, and eventually, through the sheer repetition of that discipline, you actually become him. So, you are allowed to fall apart. But you fall apart in private, you grieve in private, you doubt in private, you rebuild in private, and when you walk back into the world, you walk back in like a man who was never gone. Chin level, eyes forward, jaw set. Because the king who lets the kingdom see his cracks gives every enemy a blueprint for exactly where to strike next. Your pain is real, but it is yours. Keep it that way. Drop unbreakable in the comments right now. I want to see who in this community is truly built for this level of mental warfare. Rule number 5. Never stop accumulating power. Silence is stagnation. Let me tell you something that the comfortable, the complacent, and the quietly satisfied will never admit to themselves. The moment you stop growing, you do not stay the same. You begin to die, not physically, not immediately, but strategically, socially, financially, and psychologically. The man who stops accumulating, stops building, stops reaching, begins a slow and invisible decline that he will not recognize until it is devastatingly too late. Power is not a destination. It is not a trophy you earn once and place on a shelf while you coast on yesterday's victories. Power is a living, breathing, demanding force that requires constant feeding, constant expansion, and constant vigilance. The king who rests on his throne too long finds that the throne has quietly been surrounded. Machiavelli was unapologetic about this principle. He wrote that it is better to be bold than cautious, because fortune favors the aggressive mind, the mind that is always in motion, always calculating the next acquisition, the next alliance, the next strategic advantage. He watched princes rise and fall across Italy and identified one pattern above all others that predicted destruction. Not external enemies, not lack of resources, complacency, the fatal, seductive comfort of believing that what you have built is enough, that what you have achieved is permanent, that the world will pause and hold your position for you while you rest. It will not. It never has, and it never will. Here is what weak men do not understand about power. Your rivals are not waiting for you to be at your worst before they move. They are moving right now, while you are comfortable, while you are celebrating, while you are convinced that your current position is secure. The world does not announce its shifts. Markets move without warning. Alliances dissolve without ceremony. Opportunities appear and vanish in windows so narrow that only the man who is already in motion can step through them. The man sitting still, waiting for the perfect moment, secure in his current level. That man watches the window close every single time and calls it bad luck. It is not bad luck. It is the price of stillness in a world that never stops moving. Dark psychology reveals something deeply important about the psychology of accumulation. Power attracts power. Momentum attracts momentum. The man who is visibly building, visibly expanding, visibly ascending, draws resources, allies, and opportunities toward him like gravity. while the man who stagnates, who plateaus, who settles, begins to repel the very forces that once elevated him. People want to be near the rising man. No one fights for a seat on a sinking ship, which means your continuous growth is not just personal ambition, it is the magnet that holds your entire empire together. This does not mean you move recklessly. It does not mean you chase every opportunity with no strategy. Machiavellian accumulation is precise. It is deliberate. You identify the specific levers, knowledge, relationships, capital, reputation, skill, and you pull them systematically, relentlessly, without apology. You never arrive. You never declare yourself finished. You never allow comfort to convince you that enough is enough. Because enough is the language of men who have already decided to lose slowly. Kings speak a different language. They speak in terms of more leverage, more influence, more mastery, more reach, not from greed. From the deep, unshakable understanding that in this world, the man who is not growing is shrinking, the man who is not advancing is retreating, and the man who declares himself satisfied has just handed every hungry, ambitious, relentless competitor the greatest gift they could ever receive. Your stillness, your comfort, your contentment never stop building, never stop accumulating, never stop moving forward with the cold, quiet, unstoppable energy of a man who knows exactly what he is becoming and refuses to let anything, including his own satisfaction, slow him down. Rule number 6. Never forgive publicly and never forget privately. This is the rule that will separate you from every soft, naive, emotionally driven man who has ever been taught that forgiveness is the highest virtue and that turning the other cheek is the mark of a noble character. I am not here to dismantle your morality. I am here to arm your strategy. And the strategic reality of forgiveness, the one that Machiavelli dissected with cold, precise clarity, is one of the most misunderstood principles in the entire architecture of power. Because here is what the world never told you. Forgiving too quickly, too visibly, too publicly does not make you look magnanimous. It makes you look manageable. And a manageable man is a man that the world will test repeatedly without mercy until he has nothing left to give. Machiavelli wrote that injuries must be done all at once, so that the less they are tasted, the less they offend. But he also observed something darker and more instructive about the men who survived long enough to build lasting power. They never forgot. They filed it away. They catalogued every betrayal, every slight, every moment someone underestimated them or moved against them. And they carried that intelligence forward, not as bitterness, but as data, not as a wound, but as a weapon. Because the man who forgets betrayal is simply scheduling his next one. He is sending a signal to everyone watching, and in the theater of power, everyone is always watching, that there are no real consequences for crossing him, that his boundaries are suggestions, that his trust, once broken, can be cheaply repurchased with an apology and a smile. Weak men make this mistake constantly. Someone betrays them, wounds them, moves against them deliberately, and they rush to reconcile because the discomfort of conflict feels worse than the danger of allowing that person back inside their walls. They confuse resolution with safety. They confuse moving on with moving forward. And the person who betrayed them once watches that forgiveness happen and files away a completely different kind of intelligence. They learn that this man can be managed, that his anger has an expiration date, that if you wait long enough, apologize convincingly enough, appeal to his need for harmony and his discomfort with prolonged tension, he will open the gate again. And next time, they will be better prepared for what lies on the other side. The dark psychology of strategic memory is devastatingly powerful when properly understood. You do not carry grudges because they are heavy and they slow you down. You carry records because records are intelligence, and intelligence is power. There is a profound difference between a man consumed by resentment and a man guided by memory. The resentful man is emotional. He is still being controlled by the person who wronged him, still handing them power over his mental state, still bleeding from a wound he refuses to let close. But the strategic man has closed the wound completely. He feels nothing when he looks at the person who wronged him. Nothing except clarity. A clear, cold, accurate assessment of exactly who that person is, what they are capable of, and how much access they deserve to his world going forward. This is the king's approach. You do not announce your anger. You do not perform your disappointment. You do not give the person who betrayed you the satisfaction of knowing how deeply they reached you. You smile, you nod, you wish them well with genuine warmth in your voice and absolute zero in your eyes, and then you adjust accordingly, quietly, permanently, without explanation and without apology. You reduce access without announcement. You withdraw investment without ceremony. You reorganize your inner circle without holding a press conference about why. Because the most powerful response to betrayal is not explosion. It is not confrontation. It is silent, surgical reorganization that the other person doesn't fully understand until they look up one day and realize they have been completely removed from the equation of your life. Never perform forgiveness for an audience. Never advertise your mercy to people who interpret mercy as weakness. Forgive in your heart if your spirit requires it, but guard your empire with your mind. Because the king who forgives without consequence teaches his entire kingdom that there are no consequences, and a kingdom without consequences is not a kingdom at all. It is just a room full of people waiting for the right moment to take what they want. Drop "cold throne" in the comments right now. If this rule just rewired something in the way you think about the people around you, I need to see it. Rule number 7. Never need anyone more than you need yourself. This is the final rule, and it is the one that holds all the others together like the spine of an empire. Without this rule, every other principle we have discussed today becomes fragile. Because you can master silence, control your emotions, guard your trust, project strength, accumulate relentlessly, and remember every betrayal with surgical precision. But if you are built on a foundation of need, if your sense of self, your confidence, your direction, your peace of mind depends on the presence, approval, or validation of another human being, then you do not have power. You have the appearance of power sitting on top of a catastrophic vulnerability. And the moment that person leaves, withdraws, or turns against you, the entire structure collapses from the inside out. Machiavelli identified dependency as one of the most fatal conditions a ruler could develop. He wrote that the prince who relies on others and does not stand on his own strength will always fall. Not sometimes, not usually, always, because dependency transfers control. The moment you need someone, truly, deeply, structurally need them, you have handed them leverage over every decision you make, every boundary you set, every move you calculate. They do not even have to use that leverage consciously. Simply knowing somewhere beneath your awareness that losing them would devastate you, that knowledge alone is enough to corrupt every interaction you have with them. It makes you softer than you should be, more forgiving than is strategic, more tolerant of behavior that a self-sufficient man would have addressed or eliminated long ago. Think about every moment in your life when you abandoned your standards, every time you accepted less than you deserved, every time you stayed in a situation, a relationship, a partnership, a friendship, a career that you knew was diminishing you, draining you, slowly eroding the man you were trying to become. What kept you there? Not love, not loyalty, need. The quiet, suffocating, humiliating need for what that person or situation provided, whether it was comfort, validation, financial security, emotional familiarity, or simply the fear of the void that their absence would create. Need is the invisible chain, and most men wear it their entire lives without ever recognizing it for what it is. Dark psychology is ruthlessly clear about the power dynamics of need. In any relationship, romantic, professional, social, The person who needs less controls more. Not because they are manipulative, but because their freedom from need gives them the one thing that dependency destroys completely. Options. The man who does not need you can walk away from you. And the man who can walk away from you at any moment, without desperation, without collapse, without begging, that man holds all the power in every exchange you will ever have with him. You feel it when you are around someone like that. There is a gravitational pull to their indifference, a magnetism to their self-sufficiency, because deep in the architecture of human psychology, we are drawn to and deeply respect the person who simply does not require us. This is what you are building toward, not coldness, not isolation, not the hollow, performative detachment of a man who has confused emotional unavailability with strength. You are building genuine structural self-sufficiency, the kind that comes from having a purpose so consuming that no single person's absence can derail it, from having standards so clear that no amount of loneliness will convince you to lower them, from having a relationship with yourself so solid, so deeply rooted, so fiercely cultivated, that the world's approval becomes a luxury you appreciate but never require. You are the foundation. You are the constant. You are the one variable in your life that must never be contingent on someone else's decision to stay. Build yourself into someone so complete, so capable, so relentlessly self-developed that your greatest relationship is the one you have with your own mind, your own vision, and your own unbreakable sense of direction, because the man who needs nothing from the world holds everything over it. And that is the throne no one can take from you. Drop "I am enough" in the comments right now. Say it like you mean it. Because if you have made it this far, you already are. Part 9. The price weak men pay. We have talked about the rules. We have laid out the code. We have built the architecture of an untouchable mind brick by brick, rule by rule, with the cold precision that Machiavelli himself would have respected. But now we need to talk about the other side. The side that nobody wants to examine too closely because it is too familiar, too uncomfortable, and for some of you watching right now, too accurate. We need to talk about the price, because every rule we discuss today is not just a principle for the powerful, it is a warning for the weak. And the weak are not some distant, abstract category of men you can comfortably separate yourself from. The weak man is the version of you that exists when you ignore these rules, when you choose comfort over discipline, when you choose validation over vision, when you choose the path of least resistance, and tell yourself it is wisdom when it is actually just fear wearing a reasonable disguise. The price weak men pay is not paid all at once. That is what makes it so devastating and so easy to ignore until it is too late. It is paid in installments. Small, daily, almost invisible withdrawals from the account of your potential. It is paid in the opportunities that never materialize because you telegraphed your intentions to the wrong people. It is paid in the relationships that slowly shift out of respect and into management, where people stop fearing your boundaries because they have learned through experience that your boundaries have no enforcement. It is paid in the deals that fall apart because your desperation was visible in the room before you even opened your mouth. It is paid in the mirror. In the slow, creeping 3 a.m. confrontation with a reflection that knows exactly how many times today you chose smallness when greatness was available to you. Machiavelli watched weak rulers lose everything, not in dramatic, cinematic moments of defeat, but in the slow erosion of authority that comes from one compromised principle at a time. One emotional outburst that revealed their instability. One overshared plan that gave enemies a roadmap. One public display of need that transferred power to whoever was watching. One forgiven betrayal that taught an entire court that betrayal had no real consequences. Weakness is not a single moment, it is a pattern, and patterns, left unchallenged and unexamined, become identity, and identity becomes destiny. The most painful price of all is not external. It is not the money lost, the opportunities missed, the relationships that dissolved, the positions that were never reached. The most painful price is internal. It is the knowledge quiet, persistent, impossible to fully silence, that you were capable of more, that the life you are living is a fraction of the life that was available to you, that somewhere between comfort and courage, between approval and autonomy, between who the world needed you to be and who you actually were, you made a choice, and you have been paying for that choice every single day since. That price stops today, right now, in this moment. If you are still watching, if these words have reached something real inside you, then you already have what it takes to rewrite the pattern. The rules are clear. The cost of ignoring them is clear. All that remains is the decision. And decisions made with this level of clarity, this level of cold self-awareness, this level of Machiavellian precision, those decisions do not just change days, they change trajectories, they change bloodlines, they change everything. Drop "no more price" in the comments right now. Draw the line, right here, right now. Let this community witness the moment you decided that the cost of weakness is one you will never pay again. Part 10. The closing command. You made it to the end, and that alone tells me something about you, because most men quit halfway. Most men consume the first few minutes of something powerful, feel the initial rush of inspiration, and then drift back into the comfortable numbness of their ordinary routine. But you stayed, you listened, you absorbed every rule, every warning, every cold and unforgiving truth that we laid out together today. And that means something, not because finishing a video is an achievement, but because the men who stay until the end are the same men who stay when the plan gets difficult, when the vision gets blurry, when the price of greatness reveals itself to be higher than they initially expected. You are that man, or you are becoming him. And that distinction between being and becoming is the most powerful place a man can exist. So let me leave you with this. Machiavelli did not write for the masses, he wrote for the few. The rare, cold-minded, unsentimentally ambitious men who understood that the world is not a fair place, and that waiting for fairness is the most expensive form of weakness there is. He wrote for the men who were willing to see reality without the comfort of illusion, to operate within that reality with precision and discipline, and to build something so solid, so strategically constructed, so deeply rooted in self-mastery, that fortune itself could not dismantle it. That is who these 7 rules were written for. That is who this channel exists for. And that is exactly who you are choosing to become by being here. Carry these rules like weapons. Revisit them when the world tries to soften you. Return to them when comfort starts whispering that you have already done enough. Let them be the standard against which you measure every decision, every relationship, every move you make from this day forward. Because the untouchable man is not born, he is built, deliberately, ruthlessly, one unbroken rule at a time. Understand this clearly. The version of you that walked into this video and the version of you walking out of it are not the same man. Something has shifted. Something has been activated that cannot be deactivated. A standard has been raised inside you that your old patterns will no longer be able to meet without resistance. That resistance is growth. That discomfort is the sound of your former self losing its grip on your future. Do not run from it. Do not negotiate with it. Let it happen. Because on the other side of that internal war is the man you have always known you were capable of being. Disciplined, strategic, self-sovereign, and completely, utterly untouchable. The world does not need more men who are inspired for 48 hours and then return to mediocrity. The world, your world, the empire you are building, needs you to take these principles and engrave them into the daily architecture of how you think, how you move, how you speak, and how you refuse to be moved. This is not a one-time viewing. This is a document. Return to it, study it, let it sharpen you every single time life tries to dull your edge. Drop Machiavellian mind in the comments right now. Let me see every single person who is walking away from this video different from how they arrived. That comment is your declaration, your signal to this community that you have chosen the harder path, the cleaner code, the colder and more disciplined version of yourself. Make it loud, make it count. And if this video reached something real inside you, if it rewired even one thought, challenged even one comfortable lie you were telling yourself, then do 3 things right now. Hit that like button, subscribe to Machiavellian Mind, and turn on notifications. Because what we are building here, what we are about to release next, is something you cannot afford to miss. Every video on this channel is a weapon, and you are going to want to be armed. The throne is built in silence, the king rises alone, and your time starts now.